Shalom, Shalom Israel. I'm the brother Yowana from the Great Millstone, Arizona camp, coming back at y'all with Lord's will, another edifying lesson. First and foremost, as always, before I start, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachachorash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, our teachers. Shalom to you brothers pushing and teaching this truth across the four winds of this earth. And as always, peace, blessings, and many salutations be to you sincere Akyam Akwaf, you brothers, along with you few sisters, who are giving all diligence in these last days. Right, through the mercy and grace of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, coming back with an update and prophecy type lesson. And we're going to start right here in 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 1. And it reads, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. Okay, and we measure the time by taking the different events, right, and different things that are happening on earth as well as the heavens above, and we filter it through biblical prophecy. And when you start to take the things that are happening in the world, and again, and the things that are taking place in the heavens above, you will start to understand very quickly that we're living in the last days. All right, we're living in the days of the coming of the Son of Man, right, the days before the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And the Lord is doing that, man, pursuing to Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder, right, with fire, okay, with storm and tempest, right, with earthquake. And these things are happening, on grand scales, man. And, they're continuing to intensify, okay, the storms, the hurricanes, tornadoes, flash floods, okay. You see earthquakes, these things are intensifying because we're getting closer and closer to the end, right, closer and closer to the return of our Lord. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, right? And we're seeing upwards of the people as well, man. Protests, which that word uproar goes into a public expression of outrage and matter of fact, let me get that word real quick, all right, because I'm butchering it, right? And this is the definition of the word uproar. It says a loud and impassioned noise or disturbance, a public expression of protest or outrage. And we're seeing that all over the world, man. People standing up and protesting. Right now you still got, people, out in the streets, protesting, for Gaza and whatnot, man. They're still getting bombed as of right now, man. People are protesting because of, unjust laws, okay, and oppression and all that taking place is as we're reading, is a part of biblical prophecy. It says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, right? The end is being made known through the different manifold signs that we're seeing on the earth and in the heavens above. It says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And we're seeing a lot of signs, and the signs are in the headlines, man. And the first article I want to start out with, just as we read in 2nd Ezra 9, how the Lord is visiting this earth, right, through judgment, right, through plague and pestilence. The Lord is physically visiting this earth by the way of his angels. Okay, and I have this article, I have a couple articles actually that we're going to try to touch on, all of them, Lord willing. All right, and this is off of endtimeheadlines.org. And the headline reads, Pentagon baffled by 8,000 mysterious orbs hovering over U.S. military bases. Now, this is from a few days ago, right? As you see, the date is August 27th, 2025, man, but it's still relevant and it's still fresh off the press. It says an invasion of small metallic orbs has been spotted hovering over the U.S. in recent years, right? And the U.S. actually has the most sightings. Let me see if I can map of U.S. showing UFO. I believe the U.S. has the most visited. The U.S. is the most visited out of anywhere else in the world, okay, of so-called UFO sightings. Now, we understand, right, the so-called UFOs, which, spells out unidentified flying object. Right? These crafts, okay, are identified when you go into the scriptures, and they're known as the chariots of the Most High. Now, these are the vehicles of the angels, man. And as you can see, everywhere in the world, you have, chariot sightings, man, which are these little, lights, okay, that show this, the amount of sightings that take place. But as you can see, something very interesting, America is the most visited out of anywhere else in the world. Okay, now I believe this shows up until 2014, but you can only imagine now, because as time goes on, man, we're going to see more chariot sightings, right? We're going to see more articles come out like this, okay, how these different chariots are visiting, okay, these military bases, man, and it's not by coincidence, right? Again, it says Pentagon baffled by 8,000 mysterious orbs hovering over U.S. military bases. It says an invasion of small metallic orbs has been spotted hovering over the U.S. in recent years, leaving the Pentagon scrambling to identify these mysterious UFOs. A new report from the crowdsourced platform Enigma, which also allows people to report sightings of unidentified flying objects, hence UFOs, reveals more than 8,000 sightings across the U.S. between December 2022 and June 2025. Among these, 422 reports specifically describe metallic orbs, with the majority observed between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. near military installations in New York, California, and Arizona. Eyewitnesses, including civilians, pilots, and military personnel, reported seeing the spheres hover silently before moving at extreme speeds, leaving no trace of their departure. Some of the sightings have been captured on video or radar, though many remain unexplained. I was walking to work when I looked up and saw two metallic liquid-like objects hovering for about 2 minutes, said one witness over Brooklyn's Fort Hamilton in June 2024. Another in California described seeing a metallic orb above Los Angeles shortly after a squadron of planes flew by. The Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office has been charged with investigating claims of UFOs and has dismissed many as natural phenomenon like flocks of birds, conventional aircraft, drones, balloons, or other explainable objects. And that's what Esau will try to do. Right? You notice a lot of times, even in the cartoons and movies, when these chariots, are seen by multiple people, especially by multiple people, if not just a couple, Esau is quick to try to run and, cover it up, right? Try to make people forget, what they saw, whether it be, with a threat, whether it be by bribe, okay, or just getting rid of them completely. Okay, Esau will always try to, explain that these are not, otherworldly crafts, but there's something that, it can be broken down with science, or, again, it's just a drone or something. They don't want you to really know what it is, because best believe these devils know what these UFOs really are. Okay, these UFOs are not unidentified to these devils, man. It's starting with the elite banking families. They know that these are the chariots and vehicles of the Lord, man. All right, but they're going to tell you that it's everything else, right, to keep you in the dark. It says, however, some cases have remained unsolved, reportedly due to a lack of data. Of the 757 UFO cases between May 2023 and June 2024, released in AARO's annual report, 21 cases were classified as unresolved sightings. Let's continue on. It says, although the Pentagon and civilian groups like the National UFO Reporting Center have also been cataloging these incidents, many have continued to baffle military officials who have no way of explaining what was seen. While the new report focused on thousands of sightings in the U.S. over the last 3 years, strange orbs have been documented all over the world, from Puerto Rico to the Middle East. Moreover, these tiny craft have apparently been visiting our skies for decades. That's right, because the scriptures say, right, I'm going to say 2 Chronicles 16, how it says the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, man. The angels are going all throughout the earth. Okay, taking notes on what's happening down here, what people are thinking, what people are saying, and they're taking it unto Yahweh Shem Yahweh. Okay, which is a beautiful thing, because, we understand that if we continue to be sincere and fear the Lord and do what is good, that the Lord sees that, man. But it's also a fearful thing, because if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, okay, you're not walking in a way that's right, before the Lord, and the Lord sees that too, man, and he is going to bring a judgment accordingly, right? So that, that always keeps a understanding that always keeps you in a healthy fear of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, knowing that he's always watching. Just like when you go into a store and it says on the wall, or a little board as you're coming into the store, it says smile, you're on camera. We'll always have that mindset when you go day to day. Okay, roaming in Babylon, man, you're going about your daily things. Know that the Lord's always watching, man. All right. It says, Enigma revealed that more than 360 metallic orbs reports took place within a few miles of military bases here on U.S. soil. That's right. In 3 of those cases, witnesses revealed that the orbs got within 5 miles of Fort Hamilton in New York, Papago Military Reserve in Arizona, and Los Angeles Air Force Base on multiple occasions. And even these sightings, especially taking place here in America, is biblical as well, man. And we're going to go to it in the book of Zechariah, chapter 5 and verse 1. It reads, Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. Now, this wasn't, the prophet wasn't saying that he's looking up and seeing a loaf of bread or anything like that, man. He is talking about a chariot, man, a roll, okay, in the spiritual, because, again, we're just reading about orbs and how by the thousands they're visiting all over the United States, especially at these different military bases, all right? And it very well could be the very same thing that is, the prophet Zechariah saw, was an orb. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. Right? And these chariots really are a curse unto the wicked, man. All right, starting with Esau, Edom. Right? It says, For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. Now, ultimately, that house of the thief is referring to Esau, man. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is the ultimate thief. Okay, and that's why we see, these so-called UFO sightings, in abundance, right, compared to other places, because this is fulfilling biblical prophecy, man. Okay, these chariots have entered into the house of the thief. Okay, and are entering into the house of the thief. It says, And into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. Okay, see, so these chariots, which are referred to as a curse, is going over the face of the whole earth, man, and is entering into the house of the thief. All right, and that's why, again, we see more sightings here in the U.S., right, compared to any place in the world, because this truly is that place that we read about right here in Zechariah 5 and verse 3. All right, so just wanted to bring that out because this, that was pretty heavy, man. More than 8,000, sightings, as I said. Where did it go? Here we go. Right? More than 8,000, mysterious orbs. Okay, which again, we know what they are, hovering over different military bases, man. It's very heavy. Okay, and again, got to blow the trumpet on these things because there's so much going on. I was even having a hard time, picking, what was, most essential. Okay, but the next article that I have, okay, is going to be right here, which is going to lead to another article that I have on deck. Right, and this is on newsbreak.com. Well, not .com, it's actually on the app, the Newsbreak app. Right, and this is from today. And it says, earthquake in Afghanistan kills 800, injures 2,800. Woo! It's heavy, man. I'm going to see if I can play the video. Lord willing, there's a video. I do not own, just want to put that out there, I do not own copyrights to this video. This video is solely for educational purposes only. All right, just want to throw that out there. See there? So there's no joke, man. It's a time we're living in, man. All right, earthquakes in diverse places, as Yahweh Shai said to his disciples more than 2,000 years ago. Okay, in Matthew, the 24th chapter. Right, it says one of Afghanistan's worst earthquakes killed more than 800 people and injured at least 2,800, authorities said on September 1st. As helicopters ferried the wounded to hospital after they were plucked from the rubble of homes being combed for survivors. The disaster is set to further stretch the resources of the war-torn nation's Taliban administration, already grappling with humanitarian crisis, from a sharp drop in aid to the pushback of hundreds of thousands of Afghans by neighboring countries. Okay, and what's heavy, about when, great disasters, are brought by the Lord upon, places like this, man. They say that this is, when they off the jump say that the death count is this much and these how many people are injured, well, the death count is going to just continue to grow, drastically, because these are people that they found, right, to give an account of, that they have passed and that they're deceased. So you can only imagine how many more people that they're going to find underneath all the rubble and stones and metal and rebar, that they're also going to give an account to. So that, we're definitely going to see in the next day or 2-3 days, this number go from 800 to possibly 1,000, 2,000 even, right? 2,800 people injured, man. This is no joke, man. The Lord is visiting this earth. Okay, Scripture say that the Lord is known in the judgment which he executeth, as is written in Psalms, the 9th chapter. It says Sharafat Zaman, the spokesperson for the health ministry in Kabul, called for international aid to tackle the devastation from the quake of magnitude 6 that struck around midnight at a depth of 6 miles. We need it because here lots of people lost their lives and houses. The quake killed 812 people in the eastern provinces of Kunar and Nangarhar, said administration spokesperson, I'm not even going to pronounce that name, Zabi. Its rescuers were battling to research remote mountainous areas cut off from mobile networks along the Pakistani border, where mud brick homes dotting the slopes collapsed in the quake. All our teams have been mobilized to accelerate assistance so that comprehensive and full support can be provided, said Health Ministry spokesperson Abdul Mateen Khani, citing efforts in areas from security to food and health. Right? So, this is a big deal. This isn't a light thing, because people in the world will say, oh, well, there's always been earthquakes, there's always been things, but we're seeing more of these things happen, okay, and they're getting more and more intense. All right, and that's just how it's going to be from now on, man. Whereas we're going to read right here, right, in the book of Ezekiel chapter 7, and we're in the GNT, the Good News Translation. Ezekiel 7:25 in the GNT. Despair is coming. You will look for peace and never find it. One disaster will follow another. That's right. One disaster, one sudden, tragic catastrophe is going to follow another, and a steady stream of bad news will pour in. That's right, man. A steady stream of bad news, calamity after calamity, rumor upon rumor is going to take place, as it already is now. Okay? Just want to get the point on that. All right? There's the Yahweh Shai spoke of these things, man. All right? And again, that's why Yahweh Shai said this. Just these first 2 articles that or 3 articles that we've gotten now. All right? The 8,000 orbs, visiting different states and military bases. Right? 2,800 people injured, 800 people killed in this last earthquake in Afghanistan. Okay, I think that was the only few articles I brought out so far. Even with that alone, man, you should be able to understand that these are the last days, man. All right? And Yahweh Shai, posed or made this statement in the book of Matthew, chapter 6.